The black gold wedding band clicked against Victoria Hills's pen as another erased transfer surfaced beneath the mansion lights. At 1 in the morning, the coffee beside her hand had already gone cold. She was a Black American forensic auditor specializing in transnational financial crime. Across the library table stood Kwon Tae-hyun, the Korean Mafia boss called the Black Tiger. His open collar exposed the black tiger tattoo climbing the left side of his neck. His father's onyx ring pressed against the ledger. Her evidence said someone inside his empire was moving money. His silence said he would not tell her why. By morning, Kwon directors used Victoria's recovery model but introduced her only as the chairman's foreign wife. Her emerald dress crossed a room of polished tables. Her name vanished behind his. Outside, Taehyun's armored sedan waited while her packed lunch remained untouched. Then, his private elevator chimed. Sehye-jin stepped out in cream silk, wearing Taehyun's mother's antique tiger brooch. Only family could summon that elevator. A manipulated recording accused Victoria of betraying the man she was quietly protecting. Hee-jin placed tomorrow's seating plan on his desk. "Give me her chair," she said. Taehyun looked at Victoria, then he approved it. Victoria did not plead. She copied the endangered ledgers and called her brother. The same marriage binding their secrets had become a weapon between them. But what would she do when the man she protected chose the wound himself? Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. Victoria caught the missing transfer while Taehyun's coffee still steamed beside her hand. She dragged one ledger across the library table, opened her grandmother's brown notebook, and matched the erased payment to a company dissolved 9 years earlier. Someone inside Kwon Group had deleted the same amount from 3 systems. Only the final 0 remained. She circled it in red. The black gold wedding band clicked against her pen. "You came home early," she said. Taehyun stood across the table in his midnight navy suit, one hand around a second cup. The open collar of his black silk shirt exposed the tiger's head on the left side of his neck. He placed her coffee beside the cold cup she had abandoned hours ago. "It is 1 in the morning. For you, that's early." His gaze settled on the erased column. "Close the file." Victoria slid the ledger toward him. "Someone authorized this after midnight yesterday. Your credentials were used. Then, my credentials were copied. Or borrowed by someone you trust." The onyx ring on his right hand stopped against the paper. He had worn it since his father died, as if authority could be carried on one finger. Victoria waited for him to ask what she had found next. Instead, he shut the ledger. "Sleep," he said. "The board meets at 8. She opened it again. "The board can wait. A scheduled transfer cannot." For 8 months, their marriage had worked, because neither pretended the contract was romantic. She received legal protection and access to Kwon records. He prevented the Seo family from forcing him back toward Hye-jin. Their 4th rule required him to disclose every threat connected to Victoria's investigation. The first 3 rules remained clean. The 4th had begun collecting fingerprints. Taehyun reached for his father's watch near the files. Victoria covered it with her palm. One answer. Why did security change the library code? Min-jae found a breach. A breach involving me? His eyes moved from her hand to her face. "Go upstairs, Victoria." She released the watch. That tone once meant danger outside the room. Tonight, it sounded like a door closing between them. At breakfast, the chair beside Taehyun remained empty while he took a call in his study. Victoria carried her coffee to the window, but Mi-suk placed a folder on the vacant seat before she could use it. "That place is reserved," Mi-suk said. "For whom?" The older woman adjusted the wooden beads around her wrist. "For permanence." Madame Bae Sunja stopped serving rice. Victoria lifted her cup before either woman could see her fingers tighten around it. Then it has been waiting a long time, she said. Mi-suk's mouth hardened. The annual dinner is tomorrow. Wear something less noticeable than green. Taehyun chose the dress. That answer shifted the room. Mi-suk looked toward the closed study door, and Sunja set down the rice with a quiet smile. Victoria left before the small victory could ask more from her than it gave. 3 hours later, the executive board accepted every correction she made and credited none of them. Victoria stood beside a wall screen at Kwan Group headquarters, tracing the payment through 2 shipping firms and a foundation. 12 men copied her figures. Chairman Oh thanked Taehyun for bringing his wife. Dr. Hills built the recovery model, Yoon-chae said. Chairman Oh closed his binder. Of course. The family has been useful. Victoria removed the presentation remote from his hand. My model recovered $42 million. My marriage recovered nothing. 2 directors lowered their eyes. Taehyun watched from the head of the table, his face still. Put her name on the report, he ordered. Chairman Oh bowed. As you wish. Victoria should have heard support. Instead, every man in the room heard permission. When the meeting ended, Yoon-chae followed her into the records office and locked the door. Her steel-framed glasses reflected a list of deleted archives. 6 folders vanished since midnight, she said. All touched the Seo accounts. Copy what remains. To the secure server? No. Somewhere the Kwan family cannot reach. Yoon-chae studied her for a second, then pulled a blank drive from her navy laptop bag. Your brother's legal vault? Victoria nodded. Send Daniel the index first. If the files disappear, he moves without asking me. Her phone lit with Taehyun's name. She let it ring once before answering. Where are you? He asked. Inside the company you hired me to protect. Come to my office. Tell me why. The pause lasted long enough for Yoon-chae to stop typing. Now, Victoria. She entered Taehyun's office, carrying the erased ledger. Min-jae stood near the private elevator, one finger pressed to his earpiece. A loose strand of Taehyun's black hair had fallen across his forehead. On his desk, an audio file waited beside a photograph of Victoria entering a restaurant with Park Ji-hoon. You had me followed, she said. Ji-hoon controls people who want my routes. He also controls a witness you refuse to protect. Taehyun pressed play. Victoria's recorded voice said, when Kwan falls, the files become yours. Static swallowed the sentence before it. Another cut removed Ji-hoon's reply. That isn't the conversation, she said. Whose conversation is it? Ask me what the witness knows. I asked about you. Victoria set the ledger over the photograph. No, you accused me and dressed it as a question. Min-jae turned toward the elevator as its indicator began descending from the private penthouse level. No guest could call that car. No outsider knew the code. The doors opened. Seo Hye-jin stepped out in cream silk, the antique tiger brooch pinned over her heart. Rain shone on her long black hair, but her smile arrived untouched. Victoria, she said, I hope Taehyun had warned you. Victoria looked at her husband. Warned me about what? Hye-jin placed a pale envelope on his desk. Tomorrow's seating plan. Taehyun's thumb covered Victoria's name before she could read where it had been moved. Hye-jin leaned closer to him and lowered her voice. Give me her chair, she said. By dessert, every enemy will believe she means nothing to you. Taehyun stared at the altered recording, then at the woman he had married. His hand closed over the seating plan. Do it, he said. Victoria pulled the seating plan from beneath Taehyun's hand. Her name appeared 6 places from him, between a legal advisor and a shipping director. Hye-jin occupied the chair at his right. You approved this? Victoria asked. Taehyun took back the page. The dinner concerns an alliance. So does our marriage. Heejin touched the tiger brooch. Some alliances expire. Victoria faced Taehyun. One word from him could put the other woman outside his office. He folded the page along its center and placed it in the pale envelope. Min-jae will take you home. I have work. Your access is suspended tonight. That moved the last piece. The altered recording, the new library code, and the vanished folders formed one pattern now. Whether Taehyun believed she had betrayed him or wanted the building cleared for Hyejin, he had chosen secrecy over the rule carrying Victoria's signature. She lifted the erased ledger from his desk. My copy leaves with me. It belongs to Kwon Group. The false entries belong to a criminal court. Choose your audience. Min-jae lowered his eyes. Taehyun let her pass. Inside the elevator, Victoria pressed the lobby button while Min-jae selected the underground garage. The car descended one floor, then stopped. There is a security sweep, he said. Because of Hyejin? His thumb stayed on the control panel. Stay away from the East Wing tomorrow. Is that advice or an order? It is the most I can say. Victoria pressed the lobby button again. Silence is still a decision, Min-jae. She stepped into the records office before he could stop her. Yoon-chae had filled the monitor with the copied payment chain. Each shell company led to a foundation chaired by Seo Dong-wook, yet 3 authorizations bore Taehyun's digital seal. The deletions are continuing, Yoon-chae said. We have 11 minutes. Victoria opened Daniel's encrypted vault and uploaded the ledger. Send the witness index under my name. That exposes you. It removes Taehyun's power to bury it. She called her brother in Baltimore. Daniel answered before the second ring. I need the dissolution package, she said. Tonight? Signed before tomorrow's dinner. Has he threatened you? Victoria watched another archive disappear. He has decided what I am allowed to know. Daniel's voice sharpened. I'll send the papers. Where should the car wait? Service gate, 11:30. Yoon-chae stopped typing. You're leaving? I am making sure I can. The screen went black as Kwon Security severed the network. Yoon-chae removed the drive and slipped it inside her laptop bag. Victoria kept the 3 printed files, Seo's payment trail, the internal authorization record, and the document Daniel sent 6 minutes later. At the mansion, Taehyun's armored sedan arrived behind them. He entered the library as Victoria placed the files inside her caramel handbag. She reached for his father's watch, intending to return it to the drawer, and felt the back plate shift beneath her thumb. There's a compartment, she said. Taehyun crossed the room and took it from her. My father sealed it. Then why has someone scratched the edge recently? For 1 second, they stood close enough for Victoria to remember the night he had fallen asleep beside her bed after an attack. His breathing had slowed only when she covered his hand with hers. 3 weeks later, after she cleared Min-jae of a false accusation, Taehyun had kissed her in this room. He had pulled away first. It should not have happened, he had said. Now he locked the watch in his desk. Hyejin will remain in the private penthouse tonight. Victoria fastened her handbag. Is that another security measure? Yes. Will she use my chair for security too? His jaw tightened. Tomorrow ends this threat. Which threat? He turned the key in the drawer. Go to your room. Victoria left with the 3 files. Behind her, Taehyun called Min-jae and ordered twice the guards around the mansion, but none outside her door. He meant to make distance look real. By morning, Victoria had made it legally possible. She packed 1 suitcase before breakfast and handed it to Yoon-chae through the service entrance. Jewelry from the Kwon vault stayed lined inside its case. Victoria took her own clothes, her passport, and the notebook Evelyn had used to teach her double-entry accounting at a Baltimore kitchen table. Sunja saw the suitcase disappear into an unmarked car and pressed both hands against her apron. Victoria touched the older woman's shoulder, then returned upstairs. On the final page of her notebook, she drew 3 columns: promises made, promises broken, and evidence preserved. Taehyun's name filled the first 2. The third belonged to her. The formal dining hall filled before sunset. Business leaders and Cheonmu allies stood behind their assigned chairs while servers arranged the final course. Victoria entered in the emerald dress Taehyun had chosen months earlier. Conversations narrowed into whispers as every face found Heejin at his right. Misuk wore approval like a title. Miss Seo has always understood this family's needs. Heejin placed 2 fingers on the brooch. I only accepted what was offered. Victoria remained beside the displaced chair. Was there an error? No error, Heejin said, only a late correction. Several guests looked toward Taehyun. He raised his glass and gave them nothing. Misuk gestured for Victoria to sit near the advisors. Some marriages serve a temporary purpose. Tradition survives them. Victoria placed her handbag on the table. Tradition did not recover your frozen accounts. Dongwook smiled from across the room. Competence has its uses, Dr. Hills. Family requires something more permanent. The phrase matched Chairman Oh's insult too closely. Victoria looked at Taehyun. The trap extended beyond the dinner, and he had seated her inside it. Hyejin lifted her wine. The penthouse was comfortable last night. Taehyun remembered how I take breakfast. The guests went silent. Victoria asked her husband, "Did you invite her to occupy my place?" His fingers closed around the glass. The answer cost him one breath. A place belongs to someone only while that person remains necessary. Victoria removed her ring and set it beside his plate. Then she opened her handbag. The first folder exposed the diverted money. The second tied the CO Foundation to the internal breach. When she placed the third before Taehyun, Daniel's signature showed beneath her own. "You didn't take my place," Victoria told Heejin. "You accepted a seat I had already decided to leave." She pushed the dissolution papers toward her husband. "You needed an enemy to drive me away," she said. "What you created was a woman who will never return." Victoria lifted her handbag from the table and walked past the chair meant to diminish her. No guest reached for the folders. No one touched the ring beside Taehyun's plate. The doors opened before her, and Sunja waited in the corridor, with Victoria's coat over one arm. "The service gate," Victoria said. Sunja helped her into the coat. "Your room is still yours." "A room isn't a reason to stay." The older woman's hands paused at Victoria's collar. Then she slipped a small key into the handbag. "For the apartment, Yuan Che asked me to keep it." Victoria closed Sunja's fingers around hers once and continued outside. Daniel's unmarked car rolled from the garden wall as Min-jae ordered the guards to stand down. Through the dining room windows, Taehyun remained at the head of the table with the dissolution papers under his hand. He waited until the last guest left before entering Victoria's bedroom. The wardrobe held every Quan jewel in its case. Even her perfume was gone. A cup sat near the window, its rim marked with the wine-colored lipstick she had worn the night before. Beside it lay one page torn from her notebook. "Do not confuse my departure with a lack of love," she had written. "I left because loving you could no longer require me to help you destroy me." Taehyun read it twice. He carried the cold cup to the library, placed it beside the fresh coffee he had made that morning, and called Victoria. The call went to Daniel. "She will contact you through counsel," Daniel said. "Put her on." "You used an audience to break her. You can survive one without her." Taehyun ended the call and ordered Min-jae to retrieve the altered recording. Before sunrise, 3 international banks froze Quan accounts connected to the erased transfers. 2 shipping partners suspended their routes. The board demanded Victoria's recovery model, but her revoked credentials could no longer open it. At the apartment, Victoria sat on the floor between unopened boxes while Yoon Che connected the copied drive to an isolated laptop. The rooms had pale wood, clear windows, and no portraits of men whose names carried threats. Victoria set Evelyn's notebook beside the keyboard. Quan legal, once the evidence returned, Yoon-chae said. They can ask Daniel. Tae-hyun sent your ring. Victoria opened the courier case. The black gold band rested above a letter of apology that contained 3 paragraphs about danger and none about choice. Send the ring to the judicial vault, she said. Attach it to the contract. And the letter? File it under explanations nobody requested. Flowers arrived before lunch. She sent them to a shelter without reading the card. A settlement offer followed. Daniel answered it with one sentence. Dr. Hills declines payment for leaving a position your client made unsafe. That afternoon, Min-jae appeared outside the apartment carrying a tablet. Victoria opened the door only after Daniel joined by video, and Yoon-chae activated the hallway camera. I came alone, Min-jae said. You were alone when you stayed silent too. His scar tightened as his brow lowered. You deserve the complete record. He placed the tablet on the bare dining table and played a security file from Tae-hyun's office. The timestamp showed 2 nights before the dinner. Hee-jin spread a seating plan across the desk while Tae-hyun stood at the window. Move her beside the advisors, Hee-jin said on the recording. My father must believe she has lost access. Mi-suk will make it convincing, Tae-hyun answered. Victoria may leave. That is the point. Hee-jin tapped the place reserved for the wife. And if she asks whether you chose me? Tae-hyun took several seconds. I will give her an answer she cannot forgive. Victoria stopped the recording. Her hand remained flat on the table. He planned the sentence, she said. Min-jae leaned forward. He believed Dong-wook would attack the mansion. Then he broke our rule before he broke our marriage. He was trying to keep you alive. Victoria restarted the final seconds. Tae-hyun's voice filled the new apartment again. An answer she cannot forgive. He was trying to control where I lived, she said. He chose the wound too. Min-jae removed his earpiece and set it beside the tablet. My silence helped him. I will testify to that. Give the original to Daniel. What will you do? Victoria closed the laptop containing Kwan's accounts. Work somewhere my name appears before my relationship. The next morning, Park Ji-hoon received her in the compliance room at Group Park, not his private office. 6 analysts stood when Victoria entered. Her new wine-colored suit carried no Kwan emblem, and the chair at the center of the table waited empty. Ji-hoon gestured toward it. That team found half of Dong-wook's network. They need someone who can find the rest. Temporary authority, Victoria said. Independent custody of evidence. No use of my work against innocent employees. And against Tae-hyun? He receives the consequences attached to his signatures. Ji-hoon slid a contract across the table. Director of International Compliance and Strategy. Your name controls every release. Victoria read each page. Through the glass wall, executives who had once addressed her as Tae-hyun's wife waited for her authorization to enter. She corrected one clause, initialed the change, and took the center chair before signing. Across Seoul, the Kwan board removed Tae-hyun's emergency access after Hye-jin vanished with the remaining vault files. Mi-suk found her late husband's account number among the seized records. Dong-wook called an assembly at Hotel Mirion and circulated a motion declaring Tae-hyun unfit to command. Yoon-chae's message reached Victoria as Ji-hoon countersigned the contract. Yoon-jin took the files. Dong-wook has called the vote. Ji-hoon placed the Hotel Mirion invitation beside Victoria's new title card. The park delegation leaves in 1 hour. She slipped the invitation between the evidence index and Daniel's copy of the dissolution papers. The 2 cases would now enter together. Victoria capped her pen and stood. Add my name to the delegation. Victoria reached the Hotel Miriam service entrance as Hee-jin stumbled from a black sedan. One sleeve of her cream dress was torn, and Taehyun's father's watch hung from her fist. Two Seo guards crossed the street behind her. Min Jae intercepted the first guard. Ji-hoon's security team closed around the second while Daniel pulled Hae-jin inside. "My father ordered them to kill me," she said. Victoria took the watch. "Why bring this?" "The vault files are decoys." He hid the original payments inside it. Yoon Chae opened her laptop on a catering cart. Victoria pressed the scratched backplate, exposing a narrow key. It fit the encrypted drive recovered from the Kwon archive. The screen filled with payment orders, bearing Dong-wook's private seal. One financed the attack that killed Taehyun's father. Another funded the murder attempt Victoria had stopped 3 months earlier by redirecting the money through her own account. Daniel pointed to her transfer. "This is what Taehyun called betrayal." "He saw the payment," Victoria said. "He never asked who survived because of it." Hee-jin added her thumbprint to a sworn statement. "Give me protection, and I will identify every account." "Protection is for the witness," Victoria said. "It is not forgiveness." They entered the assembly hall as Dong-wook called the vote. Leaders from the dinner sat beneath crystal chandeliers, facing Taehyun across the long tables. His command ring remained on his right hand, but Kwon directors had removed every document from his place. Dong-wook lifted a forged report. The Black Tiger surrendered his empire to a foreign wife. She lost billions and sold his files to Park Ji-hoon. Victoria walked to the center aisle with Yoon Chae, Daniel, Ji-hoon, and Hye-jin behind her. The room turned toward the woman it had watched leave. "Open the first account," Victoria said. Yoon Chae projected the ledger. Hye-jin named the shell company, then its director, then her father's authorization code. Daniel submitted the original drive to the independent counsel seated beside the board. Dong-wook gripped the table. "My daughter is compromised." "By you," Hye-jin said. "You sent men to erase me." Victoria opened the audio record from her meeting with Ji-hoon. Her full sentence played without the cuts. "When Kwon falls under Dong-wook's attack, the files become yours to safeguard until the witness can testify." The next file contained the intercepted assassination order. Taehyun read Victoria's account number and rose from his chair. "You paid them to divert the strike," he said. "3 times, Yoon Chae answered. "She saved your life 3 times. Police investigators entered through both side doors. Dong-wook reached for his phone, but Hye-jin gave the officers his backup code. They removed him while the vote board changed from Taehyun's dismissal to an independent seizure of CO assets. Victoria faced the Kwon directors. "These records can preserve the legitimate companies. I release them under one condition." Taehyun stepped into the aisle. "Name it. Tell them what you did. All of it." He looked at the same faces that had accepted his silence at dinner. Then he removed the chairman's seal from his jacket and placed it on the table. "I loved Victoria," he said. "I treated that love as a weakness." His mother lowered her head. "I received a false recording and accused her without asking for the truth. I invited Hye-jin to our home. I moved my wife from her place, allowed my family to degrade her, and chose the words meant to wound her most." Taehyun signed the transfer, placing Kwon Group's legitimate operations under an independent board. "I called cruelty protection. It was control. My regret creates no debt she must repay." He crossed the aisle and stopped before Victoria. The onyx ring slid from his finger and struck the floor. Then the man, who had never bowed, lowered himself onto both knees. "I am not asking you to forget," he said. "Let me spend my life becoming a man who could never do this again." Victoria held his gaze. "You never needed my name," he continued. "My name survived because you protected it." "Begging is easy after control is gone," she said. "Change begins when no one is watching." She walked out with her evidence. Tae-hyun stayed on his knees until the hall emptied. The next morning, he gave investigators every Cheonmu route connected to violence. 30 days later, he dissolved the crews that refused lawful operations and began therapy without sending Victoria proof. He removed Misuk from company decisions and returned authority to the independent board. Dong-wook remained in custody as international warrants seized his companies. Haejin entered witness protection, testified against him, and left Korea without the Seo name. Misuk offered Victoria the ancestral jewel during a recorded board apology. Victoria closed the case. Respect requires no costume. She accepted the apology only as the first entry in a new record. On the 180th day, Taehyun sent one invitation to dinner. No flowers, money, ring, or promise accompanied it. Victoria accepted because he had obeyed every boundary when refusal still seemed permanent. Their first dinner lasted 40 minutes. The second lasted an hour. He asked before arranging security, and she answered without surrendering the decision. Trust returned in measurements too small for an audience. 1 year after the assembly, Victoria opened the Hills Center for Financial Justice inside the restored Kwan Library. Families defrauded by partners now brought their ledgers to the tables, where she had once worked alone. Taehyun waited behind the final row while she gave the opening address. After the guests left, he transferred the building to her foundation and placed a simple ring without a crest beside the deed. "What do you expect in return?" Victoria asked. "Nothing." That was the lesson. She opened Evelyn's notebook and wrote one condition beneath both names. "Neither of us will decide alone what is best for the other." Taehyun signed first. Victoria signed beside him, then held out her hand. This time, they chose together. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever had protection mistaken for betrayal? Could love survive a wedding ring surrendered after public humiliation? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about dignity, truth, and redemption, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.